when did you end up having problems? And we're going to talk to Kayla too separately. Is this when she tried out for the team? When did it all arise?
Yeah, in the fall of 2018, Kayla came home from tryouts, and she had played field hockey for a couple years in middle school, and she had played freshman and sophomore year on JV, no problem. And then her junior year during the tryout season, she came home with a piece of paper, and she said, "Mom," she said, "I made JV." And she was fine with JV, and we were as well. That wasn't really an issue until we started looking at the actual papers. And we looked at it, and the assessment to us was a little frustrating because it looked like she was being rated on things she can't control. It wasn't clear what the expectations were to be on JV versus varsity. We were concerned about the paperwork because it looked like she was being rated on things she just had no control over. For example, she was literally rated on her communication. She has a disability that impedes those communication skills, so that doesn't seem right. So we needed to understand why that kind of evaluation tool was being used. There are laws that we were aware of that are in place that ensure equal access, so we didn't think that really fit. So my husband contacted the coach, and the only response he got from the coach was, "Well, it's not fair to not rate Kayla on those. It wouldn't be fair to the other kids." So we talked to Kayla, and because Kayla really just wanted to be on the team, we didn't say anything. We said, "You know what, we'll just let her play, we'll leave it alone." And then a couple weeks later, Kayla was drafted on the St. Joe's team through Team Impact, and we invited her field hockey team from the high school to come, and we thought maybe this is a learning experience. So all the girls were there, and we had 100 people there for her draft day, and we thought maybe this is going to be a turning point. Maybe they'll understand why what happened wasn't okay. Kayla played the season on the JV team. She got playing time. She started games. The coaches treated her fine during practices and games, and she was included. So it wasn't really an issue during the year. Kayla was happy. She played as she was able to, and she sat on the bench a lot, but she was fine. But then this year we had tryouts again, and it it was really tough. The what? One of the things that we saw the first year on the sheet was she'd been marked down for commitment. So when my husband asked the coach about it, she said, "Oh, that's not really commitment, that's attendance." And my husband said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, she missed one day of assessments." David said, "Well, she had an appointment at Children's with her cardiologist that had been scheduled 8 months in advance. She can't be penalized for that." And the coach said, "Well, it's not fair to the other girls." So she was penalized, and apparently there's a point system, and if you have a certain number of points, you make varsity. So she was literally penalized for going to a doctor's appointment that we couldn't have rescheduled. So that was very difficult. This year, she missed one of her assessment days, and the same thing happened. It wasn't for an appointment. The temperature outside was too high, so her cardiologist had told us she couldn't play at a certain level, and so we kept her. And because she didn't risk her life for 1 2-hour tryout session, she got marked down. You can't do that. I can't even fathom how anyone would think that's okay. You can't ask a child to choose between their life and a field hockey assessment. So this year's assessment, if you look at this year's and last year's, they look pretty much the same. And it's because Kayla can't change these things. She can try, and there are things about her, physical stuff that can change over time. Her endurance level can change over time, but it's not like if she's just trying harder, it'll get better. She can't just go out and play a couple more hours in a week and things get better. It doesn't work that way.
So what are you saying? What happened with the coach? What did they do to Kayla?
Well, Kayla got put on varsity, and or she got put on junior varsity, which is fine. It wasn't even really about the team placement, but I'm frustrated that the coach didn't listen to what we said. She had no regard for the fact that what she is doing was hurting our daughter.
Right, but don't you feel it's beyond that? Isn't that the basis of your complaint?
Yeah, it is beyond that. I think there needs to be some accommodation made. I think we need to look at the process for access. It's not enough to just say that we're an inclusive school district by letting kids be on the field or be on the team. We have to provide access. The law says that she has to have an equal opportunity. It says that if there's a disabling condition, that the district has a process they have to go through where they look at the child, look at the condition, they have to look at the process and make changes. They never did that. The coaches should at least be aware that they can't do this. There's no awareness, I don't think, that this is even a problem. And what's baffling is these are good people. These are good coaches, these are good administrators and good principals, but I don't understand what's going on. It doesn't make sense. What they've done is they've restricted her access, and it impedes her ability to be really included. So Kayla applied for National Honor Society. We received a letter saying she was eligible based on her grades to apply. So Kayla went through the process of applying for National Honor Society. She spent hours on the essay that was required. She got a recommendation within the 3-day time frame it was requested and submitted the information. And then we were told that she was called to the advisor's classroom, and she...
I mean, I wasn't called.
She was given a letter.
Oh, she was given a letter that said that she had to go get her letter. And she was handed a piece of paper that said that she didn't make it. She wasn't selected for National Honor Society. So we reached out to ask why, and they said if Kayla wanted to know why, she had to go meet with this advisor. Well, for Kayla, that's difficult because it's a teacher she doesn't know, and with some communication barriers, we said, that's going to be difficult. Can you tell us why she wasn't accepted? The superintendent responded to us and told us that the committee they didn't understand her leadership based on the information she provided. Well, Kayla has a processing disorder, so they're using a document that she's written and communicated in to assess her leadership skills. So her writing skills, she has support in that at school, but she didn't get any support in any of this process from anyone at the school. So we said, well, if they have questions based on what she communicated, please let us know what they are so we can help clarify, because we'd like to understand why, the things that she's doing don't matter as far as her leadership assessment. And the response we got was, well, she doesn't qualify. You can appeal it. So we appealed it and said, these are her disabilities, these are accommodations that she really needed in this process so that she could help you better understand her leadership skills and character and service. Please let us know, if you can set something up. All we got was a response saying, nope, she's still not qualified. And no one has followed up in writing to tell us why.
He said she didn't have the leadership skills.
They haven't told Kayla that in any manner that they've never communicated that to her. They wouldn't facilitate anything, like having someone familiar go with her to meet. That's all we're asking. It's not that she just didn't get in. It's the fact that they're not doing anything to facilitate the support she needs. And it's not like they don't know what support she needs for communication. She's been in this district for 9 years. They know that writing is not a strong skill.
If she wanted to see if she could do it orally, is it just to see if there's some accommodations to do this part of the application is an oral essay or whatever?
Absolutely.
And you never got a response back whether or not that was allowed or not?
No, we said, she would need some support to apply, and they said, okay. And then we got a call about a week later saying, well, we redid the process, and we showed the committee your appeal letter, but she's still not in. Well, what we also found out about National Honor Society specifically is that they actually didn't even follow the posted process for all the typical students either. So in that interim, they had to do another step for all the kids because they hadn't even followed their own process. So I guess if they're not following the processes that are posted for parents and it's not clear for other kids who are typical, then how can you tell me that they've really made an assessment that Kayla's had equal access to anything? It doesn't feel like anyone had any oversight. I mean, there are other kids who applied who didn't get in who aren't clear as to why they didn't get in either.
Right.
So a non-transparent process in general is tough, but then having a kid with a disability navigating that same system, it's really difficult. Kayla's in her last year of high school. We've spent 3.5 very difficult years in this district in high school, and I think navigating with a disability as a high schooler is a lot different and has different challenges than it does when you're younger. And the implications of what they're doing in high school to kids with disabilities really has a much more long-term effect. I mean, her not getting into the National Honor Society means that her potential scholarship options are limited. Kayla's going to college. She got accepted last week, so now we have to figure out how to pay for it.
Well, she did get
scholarship. She got some. She is getting some scholarship, but there's still other funds that are going to be needed.
Do you wonder because she didn't get into NHS that
she
could have gotten?
I do.
Tell me what. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell me.
Kayla's been applying for scholarships for the outside companies and outside entities since August. That's when she started the process. The National Honor Society on their website talks about the scholarship opportunities that students have when they're members. So I do think when you look at students, you look at what they're involved in high school. And although JV and varsity field hockey may not differentiate with that, I do think National Honor Society matters.
There's a clear financial impact.
There is a financial impact to that. So when you're limiting children's access to things like this, and even sports participation at the high school level, it impacts their future. When a college looks at 2 applicants, I mean, Kayla did get in based on her grades and her other achievements. They are looking to see what you're involved in. And even little local scholarships, if they're looking at 2 candidates and one has been involved with National Honor Society and one hasn't, I would think that that actually matters. So you're limiting potential opportunities. I do know there are other kids with disabilities at this high school whose parents were not comfortable sharing, who have not participated in sports teams and who have not been involved in other activities because of the same thing. Unfortunately, as special ed parents, you know, we have to navigate a really tough system, and we're terrified of recourse, quite frankly. At this point, Kayla's almost done, so I don't think that's going to be an issue for retaliation of any sort with Kayla. But there are other parents who have more than one child who are just terrified because the system really is tough. And if you become known as a parent who's loudly advocates, your child could pay a price for that.
Are you allowed to advocate?
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe.
I mean, lots of emails back and forth, right?
Oh, yeah. So in the 3.5 years between my husband, he emails too, between my husband and myself, we've been in contact weekly with the district, over 1,800 emails to resolve challenges. I mean, we want to work through this stuff. This is important. I mean, ultimately, this is her life.
But why did you feel you had to take it to the next level?
Because they're not listening. I don't feel like the district understands their obligation, honestly.
But it's bigger than just us.
But it is bigger than us. This is a much bigger deal. These are kids who have potential, and I don't think it's okay to limit their potential. And I feel like that's what this system is set up to do. It's limiting potential. We can have all these conversations about teaching the kids to be independent, and we can write transition plans on their IEPs and be all excited, but ultimately when they leave those doors, what happens matters. These kids have the rest of their lives, and if someone tries to limit them now and we allow that to happen, it changes everything for them. I mean, Kayla's going to college. She has big dreams and big goals, and I don't want anything to get in that way of her opportunities. That's why for Kayla, we're in college time now. It matters. So every time we don't follow the IEP, they need to fix it, and it is an education process. And if no one truly understands what the problem is, then we need to get some training. I mean, I reached out to the school board for assistance, and I was floored. We got a response back from the school board chair saying it wasn't appropriate for us to contact her. Well, the school district policies listed on the website say the school board wants the district to implement a program to make sure there's access. Well, I was letting them know it wasn't happening. And she said they didn't want to hear it. She said I had to talk to the superintendent. What do we do? So if the school board won't step in, we're not getting it.
You've been talking to the district, though, obviously.
Yeah, we've been talking to the district all along. We've given them, they've had a long time with us. They know us very well. We have them, we have constant communication. We've never not communicated with them. We've always, we have good relations. These are good people, but we're not all on the same page, and I don't understand why. It's basic federal law that they have to provide access. And if you tell me they provided access, but then, we get told they didn't in 4 years once speak to the field hockey coach about her medical condition because they thought it would violate confidentiality, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, they didn't share that. Yeah,
so
let me ask you this: if they had done the accommodations, follow what you're complaining that your complaint states that they weren't following the guidances and the different things, do you think she would have been on the varsity team?
No.
Still don't. Okay.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know.
Even with accommodation support, knowledge of her medical condition.
Possibly. I mean,
to
maybe.
Not
but
dock her on her absences. Say that point system for absences.
the
for
absences
example.
is a big part of it. The calling it commitment. That's a big difference.
Would that have been enough points for her to?
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know because of the way that the assessments are. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But I do know if they had been written, like if it had said you have to be able to run this distance in this time, we would know clearly whether or not she would have made it.
Right.
But that would have at least been a clear goal for her to obtain, other than, Mom, how do I fix these points?
So the qualifications for the points were very clear.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now back to National Honor
Yep.
Society. if they've given her an opportunity to explain her essay orally, or being able to do the oral part of it, do you think she would have been able to get in? She had the grades, right?
She had.
Yes, to me, I mean, leadership. She's raising money since
she
she was
yeah.
born. Isn't that considered leadership?
I
guess
would think
know.
so. I don't know. I mean, she has. We have the letter saying she had the grades. They said it was service. She's raised over $75,000.
Publicly.
Yep, publicly. So leadership. She also, one of the things Kayla has chosen to do is Kayla participates in medical studies. She takes the lead on that and does that for other kids that are younger than she is. And she helps try and figure out, what's going to be best for her. And she shares her story publicly with those kids to help lead those kids to having better lives. So I think that's pretty big for leadership too.
Right. But you can't say for sure whether or not she would have been able to on both areas.
I don't know, because I don't know. Again, the assessment criteria isn't clear. And again, I talked to typical parents whose kids didn't get in, and they're not clear on what the standard was. I know there's at least one kid that was on student council a couple years ago that applied and didn't get on there. So I'm not sure how you get the points, to be honest.
Maybe this will, when they come back, will force the district to take a closer look at some of the things they're
I
doing.
hope so.
And he said they would follow whatever they advise them to do.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, when things come down from OCR, he says they want to follow it.
Yeah.
So you never know what could happen.
I hope they do. I'm concerned because we did ask the district if we could sit down and get someone from the Department of Education involved in the conversation. And the response was that they weren't sure that they would know enough about the laws. And that's baffling to me because the Department of Education, that's what their job is, to ensure that our kids are getting an appropriate education. So we've been trying to have a conversation that they're not willing to have. So this is really why we ended up having to force it this way.